E rere kau mai te awa, mai e takahui maunga ki Tangaroa, ko wau te awa, ko te awa, ko wau.
The New Zealand Parliament has passed a bill recognizing the Whanganui River as a living entity to the same legal rights as a person.
Tribes in the area fought with the government for recognition of its relationship with the river since the 1870s. The Whanganui River will be granted its own legal identity as an individual.
Hi all, and welcome to my presentation on the Whanganui River. At 290 kilometers long, the Whanganui River is one of New Zealand's most important natural resources. The river starts on the snowy northwestern side of the Mount Tongariro active volcano, winding between green hills and mountains until it meets the Tasman Sea. Legend says that when the great mountains Tongariro and Taranaki came into conflict over the love of the beautiful Mount Pahanga, a mighty battle ensued. Tongariro eventually won this fierce battle, and Taranaki, wild with grief and anger at the loss of his love, ripped himself from the ground and tore a path along the country to the setting sun. Soon after the mighty battle, a stream of clear water sprang from Tongariro, which filled and healed the wound Taranaki had made in his flight towards the ocean. Green forests filled with the songs of birds grew throughout the valley of this new river, known as the Whanganui River. You may be asking yourself, what is so special about this river? It became the first river in the world to be recognized as a legal person in 2017, bringing closure to one of New Zealand's longest-running court cases, as the Maori tribe fought for over 160 years for the river's legal rights. The Whanganui tribes have nurtured a deep connection with the waterway for at least 880 years, more than 700 years before European settlers arrived. They have relied on it for much of their food, traveled it by canoe, and built villages on its banks. In Maori culture, ancestors live in the natural world, and it is the community's duty to protect both the landscape they inherited and those who came before them. Humans and water are especially believed to be intertwined. A traditional saying is, "I am the river is me." Nowadays, to most Maori, being Maori means recognizing and venerating their Maori ancestors, having claims to family land, and having a right to be received as people of the land in the village of their ancestors. It means the acceptance of group membership and the shared recognition with members of the group of distinctly Maori ways of thinking and behaving. For many Maori people, the most significant issue in New Zealand remains that of the land. Acutely conscious of the injustices of European land dealings in the 19th century, they are suspicious of any moves toward changes of land law that are initiated by the government. In addition to socio-political and cultural issues surrounding the Whanganui tribes and river, there are also ecological and environmental considerations that have contributed to the legal status of the river. New Zealand's clean, green image has been marred with reports signaling major water quality issues in many of its rivers. In particular, water quality data from the National Institute of Water and Atmospheric Research shows the lower Whanganui River is often badly contaminated with fecal bacteria and fine sediment from extensive farming on its steep slopes and on the slopes of many of its tributaries. Since the 1970s, the power scheme has harnessed energy from these rivers, often leaving the riverbeds dry below the intakes. In 2004, when Genesis was granted rights to use this water for 35 more years, it came with stipulations requiring the company to keep a certain amount of water in the Whanganui. The minimum flows were set to a level to maximize food production and food access. Although regulations were set in place, the river still faced serious damage, such as an increase in sediment causing muddy waters and an imbalance in the natural ecosystems at play. To the tribes that hold this river sacred, this causes environmental, cultural, and spiritual damage. They categorically oppose the extraction of their river's water, and though the new law gives the river newfound rights, it does not reverse pre-existing laws, including the consent granting Genesis the rights to divert water for hydroelectric power until 2039. The legal status gained by the Whanganui River in 2017 means that if someone abused or harmed it, the law now sees no differentiation between harming the tribe or harming the river because they are one and the same. 2 guardians were appointed on behalf of the river, one from the Crown and one from the Whanganui River. The duties of the river's guardians include to act and speak on behalf of the river, to uphold the river's recognition and values as an invisible entity and as a legal person, to promote and protect the environmental, social, cultural, and economic health and well-being of the river, and to take on any other action reasonably necessary to achieve its purpose and perform its functions. Although the Whanganui River was the first to receive legal personhood, many countries have followed in its footsteps. In their 2018 article on the legal rights of rivers, O'Donnell and Talbot Jones conduct a case study using 3 examples from Australia, New Zealand, and India. They differentiate between the legal rights granted to nature and those to a human being. The legal rights given to nature include, as noted by O'Donnell and Talbot Jones, legal standing, which is the right to sue and be sued in court, the right to enter and enforce legal contracts, and the right to own property. Moreover, they note that one of the main challenges of this topic is the difficulty in enforcement of the legal rights newly granted to nature. O'Donnell and Talbot Jones note that also in 2017, the Ganges and the Yamuna rivers in India were given the legal status of persons, and this came only days after the Whanganui River. Thus, it acted to set legal international precedent. The legality of the rights of the Whanganui River are more complex than simply the rights of a person as noted above. Additionally, under legal definition, the river is acknowledged as a living whole, both in its physical and metaphysical elements. The reason I chose the Whanganui River is because of the many questions posed when giving a natural being its own rights. The human population has a tendency to exploit resources for personal gain, disregarding the natural landscape around them. One of my biggest questions is, if a few rivers can have legal personhood, why can't they all? That is the question I will leave you all to discuss if you so please. Should every important natural body have human rights? Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed.